Breaking news. The political world was set ablaze when President Donald Trump, in one of his most unfiltered rants yet, launched a personal attack on Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. In the middle of a live televised exchange, Trump leaned into the microphone, sneered, and spat out the words that instantly went viral. "You're nothing but a stupid idiot." The audience gasped. Commentators in the studio froze. For a brief moment, there was silence, as if the country itself was holding its breath. Then the noise erupted. Phones buzzed with push notifications, Twitter feeds exploded with clips of the insult, and hashtags like #StupidIdiot and #Trump vs Crockett shot to the top of trending lists within minutes. This was not just another Trump outburst. It was a direct, demeaning attack on one of his most outspoken critics, a woman who has built her reputation on refusing to back down. To his supporters, the jab was classic Trump, blunt, unfiltered, and designed to dominate headlines. But to millions of others, it crossed a line, exposing a president who would rather belittle his opponents than engage with them. Jasmine Crockett's face told the story in real time. She blinked, straightened her posture, and gave the faintest of smiles. It was the look of someone who had been underestimated, insulted, and dismissed, but who was far from defeated. Within seconds, she prepared to fire back, knowing that the nation and perhaps the world was watching. And as the camera zoomed in, it became clear. This was no longer a political debate. This was a showdown, live on television, between raw insult and raw defiance. If Trump thought his insult would silence Jasmine Crockett, he couldn't have been more wrong. Before the audience had even finished gasping, she leaned into her microphone, her eyes locked directly on him, and delivered a counterpunch that instantly flipped the narrative. "Mr. President," she began, her voice calm but cutting, "you may call me a stupid idiot, but the truth is this. The only idiot in this room is the man who believes bullying equals leadership, and America is tired of being bullied." The room erupted. Gasps turned into cheers, and the tension shifted like a lightning bolt had struck the stage. Trump's smirk faltered for the first time, his face tightening as Crockett raised her voice, her words gaining strength with every syllable. "You hide behind insults because you have no answers. You throw tantrums because you can't handle facts. And you try to belittle me because you're terrified of strong women who won't bow to your ego." The audience clapped, and even some commentators seated on the sidelines nodded in approval. It was the type of response that turned a moment of humiliation into a rallying cry. Social media exploded within seconds. Hashtags flipped. #Crockett Clapback and #not backing down surged across platforms. TikTok clips replayed her sharp retort with dramatic sound effects, while Twitter users declared it the comeback of the year. For every meme mocking Trump's "stupid idiot" line, there were twice as many celebrating Crockett's refusal to stay silent. Trump attempted to interject, waving his hand dismissively, but the damage was done. The clip of Jasmine's comeback had already gone viral, spreading faster than his insult ever could. She had taken his weapon and turned it against him, leaving the president struggling to regain his footing. For millions watching at home, it was more than just a televised spat. It was a symbolic moment, a powerful man trying to crush a critic with crude language, and a woman standing tall, proving that words can wound, but they can also ignite a movement. By the morning after the confrontation, the moment had already entered the bloodstream of American politics. News networks ran the clip on loop, dissecting every word, every facial expression, and every reaction in the crowd. CNN labeled it the insult heard around the world. MSNBC framed it as Crockett's defining moment. Even Fox News struggled to contain the narrative, with one host reluctantly admitting it wasn't Trump's best look. Editorial boards weighed in almost immediately. The New York Times published a piece titled, "Leadership or Bullying? Trump's Words Spark a National Reckoning." The Washington Post declared Crockett's response a lesson in political resilience. Even international outlets picked up the story, with headlines in London, Paris, and Tokyo casting the exchange as a microcosm of America's fractured democracy. Social media platforms, however, were the real battleground. On Twitter, the hashtag #stupid-idiot trended globally, but not the way Trump had intended. Users flooded timelines with clips of Crockett's fiery retort, pairing it with captions like, "Trump picked the wrong opponent," and "That's how you handle a bully." TikTok creators layered her words over cinematic music, while Instagram Reels showed side-by-side edits, Trump sneering, then Crockett unleashing her now iconic line. Politicians couldn't resist weighing in either. Progressive Democrats rallied behind Crockett, praising her for standing up to Trump's aggression. Some moderate Republicans quietly admitted off-camera that the insult was a political miscalculation, one that handed Crockett a spotlight she used to perfection. Even a few of Trump's allies tried to spin the moment, but their defenses rang hollow against the viral tidal wave. Meanwhile, ordinary Americans debated the exchange at dinner tables and offices and online forums. To Trump loyalists, it was just another example of their leader's trademark bluntness. But to millions of undecided or weary voters, the scene revealed a deeper truth: that Trump's reliance on schoolyard insults made him look less like a commander-in-chief and more like a playground bully. By nightfall, pollsters were already reporting a measurable shift. Crockett's approval numbers surged among independents, while Trump's favorability dipped. What had started as an insult intended to humiliate his opponent had transformed into a national conversation about character, dignity, and the future of American politics. As the dust settled, one truth became unavoidable. Trump's attempt to diminish Jasmine Crockett with the words "stupid idiot" had backfired spectacularly. What he intended as a weapon became the spark for a political firestorm that will be remembered long after the cameras stopped rolling. Historians and political analysts began framing the exchange as a defining moment, not just for Crockett's career, but for the nation's political culture. It revealed, they argued, the dangerous fragility of a leader who resorts to playground taunts when challenged, and the strength of a rising voice unwilling to bow under pressure. Crockett herself leaned into the narrative, repeating her sharp response in interviews and rallies. "The only idiot is the man who thinks bullying equals leadership." That line quickly became a rallying cry, printed on protest signs, echoed in speeches, and repeated across talk shows. For Trump, the fallout was more complicated. His core base cheered the insult, praising it as unfiltered truth. But beyond that loyal circle, the exchange chipped away at his image. Polls revealed that suburban voters and independents, groups crucial in tight races, viewed the moment as a disgrace. One strategist noted, "This wasn't policy. This wasn't ideology. This was character, plain and simple. And character is where Trump lost." Media outlets compiled montages of Trump's past insults, framing the Crockett exchange as the culmination of a pattern. Satirical shows lampooned him relentlessly, while late-night hosts played Crockett's comeback to standing ovations. What was meant to humiliate her instead elevated her into the spotlight, giving her a platform to speak not just for herself, but for every voter tired of Trump's brand of politics. Weeks later, the story still hadn't faded. Merchandise appeared online, from t-shirts to mugs, emblazoned with Crockett's line. Activists used the moment to galvanize supporters, raising funds and building momentum for campaigns that emphasized dignity over degradation. Even some Republicans privately conceded that Trump's outburst had done more harm than good, and so the legacy of that night was sealed. One man's insult had turned into another woman's breakthrough. Trump may have thought he had the final word, but history had already written a different ending. That when faced with bullying, courage can turn an attempted humiliation into a defining victory.